So evidently the video capture utility that I'm using to make these videos has a 10-minute limit on it that I was unaware of. Sorry about that. I'll be slicing these together or just making a YouTube playlist that plays them in order. So where were we? Before we were rudely interrupted by Loom, Google's somewhat useful but really obnoxious tool that doesn't tell you about the 10-minute thing. Moving on. We were talking about the remark lines and kind of just going through the list of how this works. So rem can be done through : or it can be done through rem. The next thing to kind of show off here is some logic headers. This goes back to very old style programming where it was kind of you have go-to statements. These days, as I've learned at Metro State and through other channels, go-to statements are frowned upon because it can create really, really disturbingly complicated and hard to understand sequences of events based on all kinds of things. Unfortunately, Batch doesn't have objects, so I can't call objects or instantiate things or play little games like I learned about in my UML and software architecture class. So we're stuck with go-tos. That's fine. This is not, like I said, it's a script. It's not a program. So anyway, what happens here is there's a tag. It's : home, and in this case with Notepad++, it flags it as being red and with a yellow background. I also have : school and : end. All right. So the way this works is, here's another remark line. There's a couple of logical operators that go on here, and then I'll size this down so you can kind of see the whole thing. Some logical operators, but then there's this go-to statement. So the program will enter here at home, do some checks to see if things exist. If they don't, it will go to : school. In a lot of you don't really need this go-to statement right here in this program because it executes line by line. So if I didn't have this go-to command here, it would just go to school anyway. However, proper practice when dealing with go-to commands, at least in my experience and trying to decipher this stuff later, it's nice to put the go-to even if it's falling down to the next line. Down here, we have another example of : or rem here. And just for the sake of uniformity, let's just do this. Like so. So it matches line 10. So this one again, now your script, let's say these things didn't exist because I'm sitting at the computer lab at school. Well, now the program now goes down to line 18. It skips the blank space, which is just there for me to make sense of it all later if I have to. And then again, notice the go-to and the end here. There's also a reference to end here to break you out of, if you happen to be home, there's no sense in going and executing the school lines. So it would run through these operators and then go to the end here. All right, so that's kind of the overall flow control, primitive and basic that it is in Batch. The next thing to kind of go and talk about is this if exist stuff. You can do an if exist or if not exist in Batch. I recommend sticking one way or the other on it unless you need to. It is a little bit of a mental leap to start wondering if something exists or doesn't exist if within your scripting. So I always just do an if exist, and then logically, if it doesn't, then that's fine. Go to the next thing. In this sequence here, if exist, and then on my computer at home, I've got a D drive, data, Dropbox, whatever, and I have a marker file there to indicate the presence of that I'm at home. So just read this line 11. If exist, this file, you can do something. You can echo a command back to the screen. Now remember, echo is off in this batch, but in this case, and what that just means is it won't be showing these things on the screen as it goes line by line. But it will show this. It'll say the home directory is found. Next line then, if that same condition is true, then do this robocopy. So from my Dropbox folder where I store all my school things, put it in a folder called School Mirror on the drive that this is on. This is important for later, so pay attention. So it's source in quotes, although the quotes are optional if you don't have spaces. I always put them in because it's just good form, and if you add spaces later, then you're not tracking down an error. Destination in quotes, file spec. What this means is star period star. Star means anything with a period and then an extension of anything. So that's all files. It's wildcard with an extension of wildcard. If I just wanted to do that exe files, I could do that. Or if I wanted to do ex 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0, anything ending in .ex something, I could put a question mark there. In this case, though, I want to grab all my school files in this batch. And so I do a wildcard, period, wildcard. The next part of the robocopy command is to add an operator. You can do mir, which is a mirror, and that becomes important later when I start talking about how to attack things. You could also do a /e. E just means grab everything. And I believe there's a /s as well that just means grab subdirectories unless they're empty. I never use that. I always just use E or mir. If I happen to have a empty folder, well, just grab it anyway. Who cares? It's just a single entry in my MFT. So bottom line, mir it means to mirror. So whatever files happen to be here in data Dropbox School in my hard drive are going to be replicated here, and anything that happens to be here in School Mirror that doesn't exist in the data Dropbox School folder will be deleted. So that's that. But /e just leaves it alone. It's just copy everything and don't delete the target. Again, this becomes important later on in this lecture and presentation. Then these last two pieces are good form. R3 means to retry things 3 times in the event of an error, and to wait 3 means to wait 3 seconds between attempts. And if a file happens to be open or something like that, which sometimes can happen if you're copying certain things, it's good to leave those things there. There's a couple other handy flags here too. If this happens to be a network copy, there's the /IPG : 150, for example. And what that means, IPG is an interpacket gap. Now, in this particular copy, it's from one physical drive to another physical drive. There's no point in putting the interpacket gap in there. However, if you're doing copies over a network and you don't want to swamp somebody's T1 line or whatever that it is that you're working on, throwing an interpacket gap in there is a good idea. I've found that 150 to 300 is good. Anything higher than that starts to really take a long time, because these are milliseconds between packets, and there's a lot of packets. Even though a millisecond is not very long, the sheer number of these things, it can slow things up. So those are some handy flags for robocopy. You can get a lot more information about robocopy online, or just by typing in robocopy, and then I think it's question mark. Let's just check there real quick. Let's see here. Robocopy. Yeah, that gives you everything you'd want to know about robocopy and then some, including syntax and all the flags. So just type that in and read up on it. And also there's some helpful articles online too at places like, any of the stack exchanges probably have somebody who's written about a lot of that stuff or has had problems with it, more likely. But anyway, so that's that. Again, line 13 now, another if exist, and I'm checking for the same file. I'm looking for that same condition. Frankly, I could have broken this off into another hive or another execution block with another exit, but I'm lazy. I just chose to do an if exist each time. It was an easy copy paste. Okay, so then lastly, if we were at home and we know we're at home, then go to the end. If not, so if none of this was true, if that's not true, it stops. If that's not true, it stops. If that's not true, it stops. If all of that doesn't execute, I'm not at home, not on my home computer. I'm somewhere else, most likely school. Work doesn't allow the use of USB disks or media, and I wouldn't be doing schoolwork at work anyway. So naturally, I must be at school. Therefore, go to Coleman School. Again, like I said, you don't really need that. It would work anyway if you